Thank the gentleman. Chair recognizes the gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Sanford, for any questions he may have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess a couple of different questions. The first, and I don't mean to be obstinate, but I want to go back to the question that my colleague from New Orleans was asking. It seemed to me like a fairly plain vanilla question, which is, help me understand, if somebody's on the no-fly list, then that means they can't go and learn how to fly a plane, right? And there were like 3 different bites at the apple, and ultimately still no answer. It was sort of, if I take you into a dark tunnel, then I can answer the question. I think from a civil liberty standpoint, that's what drives a lot of people crazy about these different lists that are kept by government. If we're a nation of laws and not men, there is a belief that it ought to be fairly transparent at times where we're coming from. Are you on? Are you off? And if it takes 3 cracks at the apple in a public hearing, and then no answer, and then the promise of in some closed-door environment we can talk about it, it makes a civil libertarian crazy. So what about that?
Well, sir, I think there are some things that are operationally sensitive that should be discussed within a closed setting. So we try and be.
I know, but just go back to common sense. To his point, if you say, "Let me get this right," you can't go sit in aisle 37D of the airplane, but you can sit in the cockpit and you can't get an answer on that.
No, sir, I didn't say that.
No, but
I didn't say that an individual on a no-fly list could sit in the cockpit of an aircraft. I didn't say that. What I said.
Well, if you learn how to fly an airplane, that's where you're sitting.
What I said was that an individual on a no-fly list, to my knowledge, has not received training since I've been in this position. All right? And what I also said was that there are operationally sensitive matters that I would like to discuss in a closed session, but I did not say that somebody on a no-fly list was going to sit in the cockpit. So I want to be very clear about that.
You also equally clearly said that they definitively would not. There was no definitive yes or no.
I'm telling you, sir, that I do not know of any no-flies that are sitting in a cockpit of an aircraft. That's as definitive as I can get.
Okay,
when
well,
it
that's
gets
much
to
more
an
definitive than we
operational
got.
issue,
Okay.
then I would like to talk to you in a closed session.
Understood. Okay, but all right, we got to a little bit of closure on that one. Here's another question. I want to follow up on a colleague from California's question with regard to delisting, which again I think is something that would drive somebody from a civil liberty standpoint a bit crazy, which is you end up on the wrong list. Turns out you shouldn't be on that list. As I understand it now, it's taking people about a year to be cleared from that list. In terms of rough averages, about a year. And that the goal now is to take it down to 3 months. Why does it still take that long?
Well, I want to clarify something, that the 98% of the individuals that we work with are not on the no-fly list. They have no nexus to the no-fly list. Those are individuals that have been matched potentially to a person who was on the no-fly list, and then after going through the process, you find that they have no nexus to that individual on the watch list. So I just wanted to clarify that. 98% of the individuals who come through the redress program were not on the watch list and taken off. They were individuals that may have been matched to a person on the watch list, and then through our redress process, we determined that they don't have a nexus to the watch list.
But it's still taking them a year to get off the list.
No, that's those cases through the initial redress process. If it's internal to TSA, we can do it within about 2 weeks. If it's external to TSA, so if it's a CBP issue or a Department of State issue, the initial redress takes about 60 days. And that's where the majority of those individuals fall, that 98%. Once you get past that point, the other 2% who have some nexus to the watch list, a portion of those may appeal. That's when we start getting into the longer time frame.
Okay. I guess one question would be, though, even if you're taken off the list, so as I understand it, you're then still on a cleared list.
That's correct, sir.
Why be on any list at all?
Because we want to give you a redress number that will allow you to enter that into your reservation, so when you come back with another reservation, we can run that through our system and we can keep you from being inconvenienced again. It's our way of ensuring that you can go through the checkpoint without being inconvenienced.
But I mean, I thought you were cleared, so why would you? I mean, so if you got one citizen who goes through the line, turns out he's never had any mishap, never been on any wrong list, he is not on a cleared list. Why should somebody that went through, turns out they were bungled with somebody else's name, why should they be on again, a cleared list, which raises some level of suspicion with regard to I'm on yet another government list?
Because we are trying to ensure that they can go through the checkpoint without being inconvenienced. So if your name is that close and your date of birth is that close to that individual, the way we clear that name is by assigning this redress control number to the individual that they can put in the reservation, and then they should be cleared.
One last question. Well, I'm going over. I guess I can't. Can I ask one more question? 5 seconds? No. Okay. Come back to it. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
If the committee would like to do that, but if the gentlelady's willing to hold off a second before her start, then sure, we'll allow the gentleman to ask one more question.
Well, I thank the gentlewoman from Texas. Thank you very much. I guess my one question would be, with all these lists, as I understand it, whether it's a member of Congress or whether it's anybody in this room, even we're on different levels of risk in terms of gradation. Is that correct?
Well, I wouldn't go gradation. Yeah, well, that's a correct answer, but our lists are based on what we know about you.
But my only point being, again, from a civil liberty standpoint, whether it's a member of Congress who has secret clearance and a whole host of other things, or a member of the military, or somebody out here, again, why do they have to be on any gradation with regard to lists? Why couldn't we just clear those folks off?
Well, we have to know, sir, that when you're coming through the airport, that it is you, and we can move you off. That's the whole intent of pre-check. We want to move those people off that we know, so we can focus our resources where they need to be focused. But
as I said, you could be on TSA, have pre-check, but still have a risk factor assigned to you, and I don't understand that risk factor. But I've taken too much time from the gentlewoman from Texas, and I need to yield back to her, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, gentlemen. The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Texas, Ms. Jackson-Lee, for any questions she may have.
Mr. Chairman, let me thank you and Mr. Richmond for this hearing, very timely hearing, and following up on the hearings that we've had this week, the briefings that we've had. I just had an opportunity to sit on the Foreign Affairs Committee for the testimony of Secretary Kerry. As he testified in the Senate yesterday, he was in the House today. We had a full committee